who is Director Legal for the National Democratic Congress. The last time I spoke to him, he was not Director Legal. Not that he's Director Legal, his money is plenty now. Good morning.
Hey, Sana. Good morning, Sana. How are you?
I'm doing well, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And of course, you do know that this can't pass without questions, but I want to shelve that for now. Move on to the Bugri Naabu'S issue. I will come back to your appointment. But for now, let's start with the Bugri Naabu'S issue. I know for you in the legal profession, the source of a tape like this is very important. And then the other thing, the word that has been used by the speaker is authenticate the tape. Bugri Naabu'S has sat before the committee and said, this tape, I recorded it. The thing actually did happen. Does that address the question of authentication, or there's a lot more to do?
Okay, so usually for every legal proceeding, you are looking for two things: what the law is and what the fact is. So when the matter falls on a fact or a factual dispute, that factual dispute must be proved. And like it is said, when you say proof in law, all you are simply saying is that the ability to prove by way of either oral testimony or documentary evidence. Documentary could be video, it could be, paperwork or something. And like Justice Atuguba famously said, he said in Ghana, there's a certain preference for documentary evidence over all other forms, by way of, say, oral testimony. So that if the thing is documentary, people can easily relate to it. In fact, he uses the pidgin word, silly. You understand? So, in this particular committee, parliamentary committee, the speaker gave them specific terms of reference. Now, you want to authenticate something. The person who did the thing, first it was leaked. Now, there's somebody who has taken ownership of the thing. So even for admissibility purposes, no other person is, capable of helping you with this process than the person who did the recording.
Ghana's gold.
And in this case,
Radio gold.
The man himself had appeared before the committee and said, I bought the gadget and got someone, blah, 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 to do it for me. What more? Like we always say, nothing convicts a man faster than his own words. Or, Senna?
Nothing convicts a man faster.
Convicts a man faster than his own words.
So, that is enough.
On the face of it, without more, nothing on earth convicts a man faster than his own words. And that is why, even for criminal processes, if you take somebody to court, the first thing at the end of the day is to ask, are you guilty or not guilty? Now, if the man comes to court and say, I am guilty, Senna, who are you to say he is not? If in a criminal proceeding, the man himself went to the police and wrote a statement, confession, and this is not a statement or testimony that was extracted under duress, inducement, or something, then it's a quicker way to proceed with the matter. And in this case, Bugri Naabu'S had clearly demonstrated before the committee. And I listened to the proceedings yesterday on the radio, and the questions were, the answers,
Ghana's gold.
I mean, were quite explosive.
Gold.
Very, very explosive. I mean, to think that people would have meetings and conspire to subvert the will of the people of this country in an election, it should be a matter of great concern to all of us. In that meeting, if you listen to the conversation, the police officers, Bugri Naabu'S himself, they were alluding to unconstitutional means to change the verdict or the mandate of the people. You see, the Radio Gold platform that you are on has a particular unique history. In 2008, you recall the election forensics,
Ghana's
Raymond
gold.
Archer
Radio gold.
and the rest. So now you recall those times.
Yes.
Yeah. So you have a situation where today people can comfortably sit and say, oh, as for this particular IGP, you will not allow us to manipulate the election. And that he will not do so because an ex-president had met him and promised him. And so he will ensure that the rules are applied evenly. So let's remove him and bring someone who would help us manipulate the outcome of the election. I mean, this is serious. This is serious. By now, the police should be arresting those individuals.
But there is still 3 police officers who have been named. They have not appeared before the committee yet. On the matter of authentication, do they also need to be heard?
But the person who did the recording says, I did it. What other authentication do you need?
Then what value would their evidence before the committee offer?
As in the other police
The police officers who have been named.
The video has already been admitted in evidence. What is left is inferences.
So at this point, would denial be helpful?
No, that's what I'm saying, that at this point, all you see, like a judicial proceeding, the evidence has already been admitted in evidence. The document, here, the audio. It is now part of the record. So the only thing that the judge is left to do at this point is to draw inferences from it. Yeah.
Okay. But I'm also wondering, did Bugri Naabu'S evidence address every question in your mind after listening to that tape?
What are the terms of reference? What are the terms? To check whether the audio record, whether in fact the things that are on the audio recording are even true, correct.
Yes.
Has that not been given confirmation?
Yes, but he's not the only party on the tape, is he?
But he doesn't deny that he was there. He said, I even took the initiative. And not only that, I even shared it with the President of the Republic. Was he the one who leaked it?
He said he did not.
No, I mean, he said he shared it with Mr. Akufo-Addo. So is it Akufo-Addo who leaked it?
Oh, okay.
Was the audio leaked by Akufo-Addo?
And And that's another angle I'm coming to. But for the police officers, if when they appear before the committee, to you, what are the key questions for them to answer?
For me, it is whether or not you've ever had a meeting with Bugri Naabu. Personally, I have a few challenges with the questioning yesterday.
Ghana's gold.
I would have approached it a bit more different. You understand? Hello?
What was your challenge with the questioning?
So, for instance, if I were the one doing the cross-examination or eliciting the kind of answers I wanted, I would have possibly started by first asking him if he could first play the tape and say if he could identify the voice on it and if the voice is his. Now, can he tell the panel where this encounter took place? Was it in an open space, an office space? Where? What time of the day was this encounter? Morning, afternoon, evening. Then as you move, at this meeting, who and who were there? So that provides a certain scope. So you don't go beyond the scope. You limit everything to the tape to avoid extraneous materials. Because such extraneous material can have the potential of diluting the essence of the questioning and the answers. And you stay focused on that. So by the time the next person comes, there's nothing in doubt.
Okay. But as if the question of when this happened, the answers have been provided to all those questions you raised, were they not?
Not exactly the way I wanted it, but I'll defer to maybe the strategy the committee members have.
On the matter of the president, which you have also brought in, I was just speaking to the man whose name you mentioned, Raymond Acha, a moment ago, and he says he'll be surprised if the committee does not at least make the attempt to invite the president to answer some questions after Bugri Naabu named him as the person he gave the tape to. Do you agree, and what will it take to bring the president before that committee?
It may come with a lot of legal challenges because the Constitution, as you know, provides a certain immunity to the president from certain proceedings. Question: will such a parliamentary proceedings involve the president taking an oath? And if so, would it not undermine the constitutional immunity that he enjoys from all civil and criminal proceedings? So they can't wait. I'm a student of this constitution, and I'll do everything to protect it. So if there's immunity granted to anybody, I'll be the last person to try to undermine that immunity. Yeah.
So, okay, and this is for the education of everybody listening who perhaps does not have the legal education you do. You're saying that the moment the president takes an oath before a committee of such nature, and from watching the committee yesterday, when you appear before the committee, you have to take that oath. When the president does that, then the president's immunity has sort of been taken away.
You may be threatening the immunity.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But does the president, even without appearing before the committee, the president can still provide these answers one way or the other? And
at this point, you see, usually you also want to look at the question of relevance. What would the president's appearance before the committee do? what will be the utility? Hello, Sana.
Okay. So
what will be the utility? Is it coming to deny?
So the question the committee needs to answer is whether they really need to invite the president to arrive at their goal.
In terms of the utility.
Okay.
And that's where so that you see, even in the law of evidence, the overriding principle has always been the question of relevance. You understand?
Okay.
And relevance, you are looking at materiality.
Radio Gold.
You are looking at connection. You are looking at essence. You are looking at utility. So here, the question is authenticate. In answering that legal question, whether or not the tape is authentic, would the testimony of the president help in that resolution? No. The president is not the originator, correct? The originator has owned up. So that matter is resolved in the affirmative. So we call it positive confession. And in this case, Bugri Naabu'S even appeared before the committee in the company of his lawyer. The understanding is that he appreciates the nature and quality of the testimony that he is offering to the committee.
Okay. So I guess we'll be looking forward to what will unfold before the committee subsequently. But you talked about the part about subversion. And I'm wondering, for a lawyer, what is the cost of subversion? The cost.
In this country, if you are found to have engaged in any act that can subvert the 1992 Constitution, that's treasonable. And the punishment for treason can possibly be death.
Radio Gold.
So
that's how grievous the participation is.
So, as far as you're concerned, what they did was treasonable.
If it turns out that people will vote and some people can sit somewhere and change that outcome, that's treason.
Well, let me move you to another subject. And of course, I'm hoping that we'll have subsequent conversations on this as it unfolds. But there's another subject because from our understanding, the 21 days that the minority and the National Democratic Congress as the bigger party and some interest group gave to the governors of the Bank of Ghana to resign has elapsed. Which means they having not resigned means the demonstration will come off as planned. I see a letter from the minority where they are addressing the police's issue of the routes. What is the stance of the NDC on the matter of whether or not you can use that route?
So, as well, many years ago in the 1990s, the MPP had tried celebrating, I think, the birthday of J.B. Dankwa, and needed to do some public assembly. The IGP, under the old public order decree, there was a need for them to seek the approval or permission of the IGP. This the MPP did not agree with, and therefore approached the Supreme Court. And before the Supreme Court was their claim that as far as the 1992 Constitution, except for public order, except for public morality, there is no limit to the right to assemble, the right to demonstrate. And therefore, the requirement in the Public Order Act for an additional permit from the IGP in order for one to demonstrate was unconstitutional and clearly outside the scope of the Constitution. The Supreme Court agreed, and that is the seminal case of NPP versus IGP. Now, that decision of the Supreme Court subsequently led to the amendments of what we now have, the Public Order Act. Now, the Public Order Act, flowing from what happened, now says that you should only notify the police because mass gatherings come with its own security implications. So notify the police. Now, if the police believe that public order, public morality will be greatly affected if the demonstration or public assembly is allowed, they should approach the courts. You understand?
Ghana's gold.
The Act also gives the police the opportunity to do what they call redirect the routes without more. But if they insist, the demonstrator can say, no, we will not, we want to go. We will use the same route. The only opportunity for the police is to go to court. Nothing more, nothing else.
So as far as you're concerned, the only way they can stop you is a court order from the police.
The police cannot even impose a vote on you. It is only the court. Only the court. And in this case, it is the High Court and only the High Court.
Is there a reason that route is so important to you?
Yeah, for the full essence of the demonstration. Yeah.
Okay, so the police know what to do.
I have had to defend who will be demonstrated before the courts. Arise Ghana, Bernard Mona, Rex Omar, and co. We've approached judges on many times because of demonstrations. And usually we'll go to the judges in chambers to argue the application, because the application must be on notice. Must be on notice. So usually we'll go with the lawyers from the Ghana police. We'll go and argue it out. Sometimes we'll say we want to pick it. The judge will say, okay, if you want to pick it from. The other time my clients wanted to pick it around the Jubilee House. They came, raised all kinds of security, and they came, there's terrorism in the sub-region, and this. And I was telling the judge that, listen, these people, they're only here to play on your emotional keyboards. They'll come and say, there's terrorism in the sub-region. I say, my lady, where in Ghana has there been terrorism? These people are only here to just mislead the court. It is only a government that is paranoid that will be stopping demonstrators by alleging that there will be terrorism. And so it has been the modus operandi of the police in recent times. Look, I've always maintained courageous leaders are not paranoid. John Dramani Mahama, as president, when the Occupy Ghana people demonstrated just around the Flagstaff House, you remember Afrikiko and the rest. Yeah. When they finished, they went into the Jubilee House itself and presented a petition. I recall the distinguished Dr. Valerie Sawyer was the one who approached them and took the petition. Did something happen? Huh? The NDC is the next government in waiting. So we will not do anything to destroy this country. No. We are the next government in waiting. But we want the right things done. And we will insist on it.
Okay. There are various issues that you raise against the governors, matters of law, matters of mismanagement. The decision-making process is one thing you have raised against them, including constructing a head office at 222 million cedis currently. With the land and everything, you put it around $250 million that they are spending on that head office. On the matter of law, I've listened to renowned economist and, of course, member of the MPP, Mr. Pienim, who is of the opinion that on that legal issue, he thinks that you cannot fault the Bank of Ghana because the Fiscal Responsibility Act was suspended to allow the finance minister to spend beyond the percentage deficit that the law allows. That Parliament should have been minded to have asked the finance minister and everybody in the economic management team to bring up the Bank of Ghana Act that you're relying on. Because, of course, once you have allowed him to go beyond that, you should suspect that certain things might happen. What do you think of that line of argument?
There's so much poverty in that argument. Hello?
Yes. So much
There's
poverty.
Poverty in that argument. So the economy is run in two parts. There is the monetary part, then there is the physical part. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the Fiscal Responsibility Act is specific to the physicals. The Bank of Ghana Act is specific to the monetary side. So how then do you use the Fiscal Responsibility Act to justify? The Fiscal Responsibility Act simply deals with fiscal deficits. That finance minister don't overspend. Listen carefully. Don't overspend beyond the 5% threshold. Fiscal deficit. I think that I need to approach the respected Crime PNE and possibly show him the difference between the two enactments. I can appreciate where the challenge is coming from, so he can see the difference. The Fiscal Responsibility Act is direct to the finance minister and no other person. And so, Senna, if you go to the Bank of Ghana Act, hello?
Yes, I'm listening to you.
The Fiscal Responsibility Act deals with the spender of the money. Bank of Ghana, does it Bank of Ghana prepare your budget? Is the annual budget prepared by the Bank of Ghana? No. It's prepared by the president. And so you notice that our budgets are budget of the president, except that the finance minister does the presentation for him. And that is why you see that even before one cedi is expended, before one cedi is expended, you have to first pass the appropriation bill. Because when you are spending, you are appropriating. You are taking money to spend. So the law is clear. And that is why a breach of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, the person that is held responsible is the finance minister and not the government. So how can somebody use the Fiscal Responsibility Act to justify a breach of the Bank of Ghana Act? So much of a poverty of legal reasoning. It is not even funny. Let the point be made clear that if you read the Bank of Ghana Act, Section 30 of the original Bank of Ghana Act 612, if you go to Act 612, Act 612 is very clear on the scope, limits of the Bank of Ghana Act 2002. Let me just read Section 30. So now you're on the line?
Yes, you're on there.
Section 30. Listen carefully. Temporary advances. Temporary advances. It says the bank. So you see what the law says. The bank may make advances and loans to government and on overdrafts or in any other form that the board may decide. So now, have you heard it?
That the board may decide.
That the board may decide. What has that got to do with the Fiscal Responsibility Act? Now listen, Sections 2. The total of the loans, advances, purchases of treasury bills together with money borrowed by the government from other banking institutions and the public at the close of the financial year under subsection shall not exceed 10% of the total revenue of the fiscal year in which the advances were made. This was the 2002 Act. So in 2016, Sessions 2 was amended. The amendment took away the 10% and restored 5%. Now, if you go to Section 67 of the same BOG Act 612, that's the parent law. What does it say? Offenses and penalties. 67. It says, quote, except as otherwise provided in this act, a person who contravenes a provision of this act commits an offense. And is liable on summary conviction to a fine not exceeding 500 penalty units or a term of imprisonment not exceeding 2 years or both fine and imprisonment. So now, are you there?
Yes.
So what is the respected crime PNE talking about? So in 2016, when the original Act 612 was amended, it now became the Bank of Ghana Amendment Act 2016 Act 918. Now, Section 16 of the amended Act provides as follows. Section 16. The principal enactment is amended by A, a substitution for subsection 2 of. So now the new subsection 2 now reads, instead of, so it reads,
Okay.
total loans, advances, purchases of treasury bills and securities made under subsection shall not at any time exceed 5% of the total revenue of the previous fiscal year.
Okay.
So now, is that not clear?
Yes.
Now listen, section 7, subsection 7. So there's a new subsection 7. What does it say? Subsection 7, the new one. It says, where the total loans, advances, purchases of treasury bills and securities made under subsection 1, the one I said the board can decide, you remember?
Yes.
Is so where the total loan is 5% of the previous year fiscal revenue, the governor shall notify the minister. So you see, the governor shall notify the minister
Okay.
and parliament of the attainment of the limit under subsection 2. And the minister, upon notification, shall report to parliament on the remedial measures to be taken, unquote.
Now, explain the sequence of events that are supposed to, you think are supposed to happen within, because the governor seems to be suggesting we told the finance minister told parliament. Is that how it's supposed to happen?
So the governor shall notify. So the governor is not notifying only the finance minister. You see, parliament anticipated this kind of collusive behavior.
Ghana's gold.
So in making the law, parliament knew these things will happen. So parliament says, you shall, and it's a mandatory terms. The governor shall notify the minister and parliament that parliament, the 5% limit that you set for me this year, I've attained it to. As in 2020, Governor Addison gave the Akufo-Addo administration 10 billion Ghana cedis. In 2021, Governor Addison gave the Akufo-Addo administration in excess of 35 billion. In 2022, it gave the Akufo-Addo administration 42 billion, in excess of 80 billion in 3 years. As we speak to you, Governor Addison had done in excess of 6 billion Ghana cedis to the Akufo-Addo, even in 2023.
Radio gold.
So now, even in 2023, the only thing that has slowed them is that the IMF had made it part of their conditionalities in order to get the November take, and so they've slowed down a bit.
So already, even in 2023, he's exceeded the 5%.
They have done 6 billion already. So now, even this year,
So you're convinced that there's been a breach and he needs to answer for it?
there's no doubt.
Before I let you go, just two quick issues that Raymond is listening to us, and Raymond raises two quick issues that he said I should draw attention to. The first one on the matter of the president. He says, is the president immune from prosecution or from fact finding? Was the Mahama hauled before Shraj? What do you say?
Okay, so there are two and distinct matters. So, Shraj and his powers are a bit more different. You understand? But even with the Shraj findings, if my memory serves me right,
Ghana's gold.
well, Mr.
Radio
Lita
gold.
represented him. because of the nature of the investigation. But you see, like I pointed out, such fact-finding conversation, you also need to be very careful. What is it that you want from the people? You want to find out the people who met and plotted. From Bugri Naabu'S, he gave a copy to the president. Correct.
Yes.
So from all indication, the president is not one of the persons who participated. So you also need to be very careful not to introduce extraneous materials. They provide a diversion. And someone like Raymond Acha, he is much vested in investigative matters, possibly better than I do. And as an investigator, you are looking for leads. But each one of the leads, you ask, what does it add to the investigation? This is a parliamentary committee with clear terms of reference. Go and authenticate an audio recording that has leaked. That authentication has been provided. What more do you want?
I think his point really is where you say we must be careful not to endanger the immunity.
Like I've pointed out, I would always defend, once you are president and you hold the office of the president, whatever immunity that you enjoy, I would ensure that that immunity, you enjoy it. So tomorrow, if A.T. John Dramani Mahama becomes the president of Ghana, I will not permit anybody to endanger his immunity. Today that he is an ex-president, I will also not allow anybody to endanger the immunity that the Constitution provides him as ex-president. I will not do so because I think, it favors me or it does not favor me. So, for instance, as an ex-president, the president enjoys immunity forever till he dies from every criminal or civil litigation. So, for instance, H. John Dramani Mahama, you can't prosecute him unless he commits the offense, maybe going forward. Other than that, if it has to do with anything that was done when he was president, you cannot do anything about it.
Radio Gold.
It's foreclosed forever and ever. That's it. But if whilst leaving office within 3 years, processes are brought in this manner, that's a different matter altogether.
Well, the second issue he raises is whether it's possible for the police officers to deny claims made by Bugri.
So, you see, in the law of evidence, even where there are co-accused persons, the principle of law is that the confessing statement of a co-accused is not binding on you unless you take a positive step to, as it were, admit it. That, the confession that has been made by so and so person, yes, it's true. So there is always the opportunity for denial. But get something clear. In this particular case, it is the authenticity of the audio recording. And it has been authenticated by the maker, the recorder. So if, for instance, Bugri had come in and said, no, I didn't, No, I didn't. Then it opens the conversation differently. But in this case, the man said, I even bought the gadget. There were 2 gadgets. So he is giving you. So usually in laying, there's something we call you lay foundation. Foundation has been laid. The man says, I even bought it. I did this. I did that. What better testimony do you have than this? So it is so positive, highly charged testimony. And so if the police officers come and say, we deny it, what are you denying? That it is not authentic. And that's why I said, the next thing is for inferences.
Radio Gold.
The next thing is for inferences. So you see, usually the lawyers will say there is a burden of proof, and then there is a burden of persuasion. So first is, you bear the burden. So this is the evidence I have. Then the next one is to persuade the judge that, on this evidence, this is how we should resolve issue A, B, and C. You are good to go, Sana.
Well, thank you very much for speaking to us. But what does the director of legal of the NDC do?
Before your question,
okay.
May I use your platform to encourage the chairperson of the Electoral Commission
Radio Gold.
and the other persons that the time has come for them to listen to good counsel. The time has come for them to leave the fanciful world that they find themselves in and begin to appreciate the realities of the ordinary person in this country. For 2021, 2022, until now, the Electoral Commission has failed to do continuous voter registration required by law. Now, in 2023, when they have decided to do what is required by law, they have rather decided to disenfranchise the people of this country. The point should be made clear that nobody is going to permit the Electoral Commission to be laws unto themselves. In this country, we have the rule of law, not the rule of men. The law of this country requires that you make voter registration as easily accessible to the people as you can. And the EC chairperson should know better. Thankfully, just in 2020, they bought equipment worth $74 million from the French company Thales for the registration exercise. Those equipments are barely 3 years old. So how can't you deploy this equipment in over 1,000 registrations? In this country, Senna, you know we have 36,000 polling stations. The NDC, like all other political parties, are not even saying that go and register in polling stations. So we are saying electoral areas. How is this difficult? Just 1,500 out of 36,000 polling stations. Great concessions that we have made. Great concessions. What is this? Hello, Sana.
Yes.
What is this?
Well,
Sana, we've made great concessions. We are saying that there are 36,000 polling stations in this country. The NDC is not saying that go and do it in 36,000 police stations. So even electoral area, you say no, district officer. Look, Sana, I stayed in Domekwabenya. That is my constituency. Also, the Ghana East. Can you imagine that the district EC office is somewhere around Abokobi? So you have a situation where the person staying at the old Peace FM, that's the border of the constituency to Trobo. You have to move from that place to Abokobi in order to get registered as a voter. You need to move from Taifa in order to get registered as this. Look at somebody in a constituency like Afran Plain South or North, Donkokro. You know the Dija Islands. Sena, me, my family people are greatly into fishing. So they live on those island communities. Many of them have turned 18, 19, 20. They need to be registered to vote. You are asking somebody to be on the Dija Islands. The Dija Islands. And come to Donko Crew in order to be registered to vote. I mean, what madness is this? It doesn't end there. Where I was born, in Kwanta South, the district capital is in Kwanta. You are asking somebody to move from Salifu or Broniasi, Pusupu or Bontibo to come to Inkwanta in order to be registered to vote. You are asking somebody to move from Kichi to come or Keri to come to Inkwanta in order to be registered. Look at a place like Inkwanta North. The district capital is Pasa. You are asking somebody to move from Tinjase to that place. If you go to KTB, you are asking somebody to move from Jamrume, Asato, come to Inkwanta town in order to be registered to vote. From Pampangwe to come to Inkwanta. Dodi, Amalfo, Poise Cement and the rest to come to KDB in order to get to vote. I mean, what is this? And that is why I'm saying that. You see, this, excuse my language, on the lighter note, these are friends that were born in Accra. They possibly do not have a better appreciation of the geography of the country. They see Accra to be airport residential area. No, Madam Jemensa, Accra is not airport residential area. Accra is bigger than airport residential area. Look, Sana, one day we'll do a talk. What's the name? If you go to a constituency like Daboya Mankaragu, look, to move from one community to the district office is no joke. It's no joke. Sana. So, Ghana is not the way we perceive matters here. No. If you go to a constituency like Wai,
and I'd be very, very glad for us to have this conversation a bit more extensively.
Let me conclude here.
Okay.
If you go to a constituency like Wai, to move from Fiji to the district capital, Dafiama Busa is that. Look, go outside Accra and be even here in Accra, like I gave the Domikwabenya scenario. It's no joke. So we'll plead with Madam Jane Mensa that she shouldn't move us to the point where we'll do what will not bring good relationship. She should do the needful. In any case, the machines are already available. She bought them less than 3 years ago. Unless she's telling her that the machine that she bought with $74 million have all spoiled. Then that's a different matter altogether.
Thank you. Maybe some other time I'll ask a question on being the new director of legal affairs. But Raymond Acha says I should leave you with one message on the last bit, that those who are in power know from election results in Ghana that NDC voters are most scattered in the rural areas, and NPP are usually found in the cities. Well, thank you for speaking to us.
So maybe just in quick response to my senior brother Raymond, we clearly appreciate the concept of gerrymandering. So what the Electoral Commission is doing, effectively by limiting these processes to the district offices, is what we consider to be gerrymandering. And you know what they are doing? If you go and register in the district offices, effectively they have the opportunity to do redistribution of the numbers to marginal constituencies, among other things, for the sole purposes of helping one political party or the other win, more importantly, parliamentary. Because presidential election is more like one constituency. But parliamentary, you can do a lot of these gerrymandering. So there are constituencies where somebody is winning by thousands. You can have a way of redistributing the numbers. We fully appreciate. Okay. And that is why we are not going to take this thing lying down.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Lawyer EDUDZI KUDZO TAMAKLOE is Director Legal for the National Democratic Congress. Well, we've spoken about a lot of things. In fact, we landed on the matter of the Electoral Commission.